how do you top John in one of these? Like, seriously, he's done this subject. He's talked about his 5 most valuable games, his 5 rarest games. And I was inspired. I wanted to do the same because I found the subject really cool. It made me look at my own collection and decide what is rare. What do I have that is not as common as the rest of the world has? And I've determined quite quickly that I think John has a bit of a rarer collection than I do. The man is quite good at collecting. It's impressive to say the least, considering his age. But I have been collecting longer because I am older. But I also very rarely traded in games. I say rarely, but there's some ones out there that I traded in that I just feel in my heart. One of the biggest is I used to own a copy of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on the PlayStation 2, and I traded it in because I'm like, I don't play this much anymore. There's not single player. I don't have any friends to play with, but I liked Marvel. Capcom seemed pretty cool. There were some cool characters in there, but I don't really have anybody to play with, and I wanted to get this other game, so I'll trade it in. Wow, that's weird. I got like $5 for Dead or Alive 2 Extreme. That's weird, and yet I got, $40 for Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I wonder if I've made a terrible, terrible mistake. And there's where my desire to trade in games died. And from that point on, I have tried to collect. I've tried to pick up games I thought might become rare because RPGs tend to do that. And I'm an RPG fan. And boy, there's a lot of RPGs out there that I wish I had picked up that I simply didn't and has gotten more expensive. But, as time goes on, it becomes a little bit harder because other things have to be paid for, and it's just not good. But I do have some rare games, and while I can't match the sheer awesomeness of John's final game, I do have some good ones in here that I feel pretty proud of, and I think I might elicit some jealousy. Really, that's the goal here. I want to elicit jealousy. I want you to be jealous of me, and that's how we make ourselves feel good about each other, right? Sure. Anyway, let's talk about the games as I shamelessly try to match John's silliness, because why not? This is an off-the-cuff video, having fun. Let's have some fun as we talk about expensive games that we own, and my turn to get into it with my number 5. Now, I did some research and I found some games that are pretty good, pretty decently priced, and some of them are matched pretty closely. Honestly, my first 2 are like neck and neck with each other, but I put this one down just below because of the quality I have for the other one. If I had this one in a little bit better shape, and it's not bad shape, it's just better shape, it'd be worth a little bit more. But this is one I tracked down for a while because, dear God, did I want it. Mega Man Legends 2, because, dear God, I am a Mega Man Legends fan. This is what got me into the series. I had rented Mega Man X4 and Mega Man 8, and neither of them clicked with me. I enjoyed them, but I couldn't beat them. I was too bad. I was still getting the grips to come to grips with that type of gameplay as a newcomer, because most of my old school games were picked up by my parents. I was just starting to get into the games that I was into. But I also had an older friend who introduced me to a lot of games. He was the one that introduced me to Final Fantasy VII. He attempted to introduce me to Resident Evil 2. I didn't get past the first batch of zombies because I thought I had to shoot them, and like, why don't I have enough bullets? I tried to run. Oh, I am very bad at running because they have these tank controls. That's an issue. That's a problem. But one of the other games he introduced me to was the original Mega Man Legends. He let me borrow it. I loved it. I played it. That connected with me. That whole island setting, the characters, the voice acting, it kind of along with Final Fantasy VII blew the lid open for me. There was that entrance into cinematics that truly captured the imagination. And while Final Fantasy tended to look better, it didn't have voice acting. And that's where Metal Gear Solid and Mega Man Legends came in. And honestly, in retrospect, not even just in retrospect, but even at the time, I thought Mega Man was more impressive than Metal Gear because the voice flaps, the animations, the facial animations looked so impressive to me. And meanwhile, they had these little squinty faces nodding along with Metal Gear Solid. Still great voice acting, of course, legendary, without a doubt, but there's some great performances in here that are fun. It's a good Saturday morning cartoon, but that's the original Mega Man Legends. I borrowed Mega Man Legends 2 from him not too long after, got stuck in one of the early dungeons, but was still kind of charmed by it, and I wanted to pick it up, but I never beat it. And this is before it came to the PSN. It's either get it on PS1 or fail. And that took some doing. I tried to find it for a good price. It took me a while. Really wasn't happening. But finally, of all places, and this was as the merchandise was sort of shifting at this store, well, GameStop, PS3 was coming in, and they were, getting rid of the PS1 stock because, who cares about PS1? It's all about PS2 and PS3 now, and of course the other systems. But PS1 is too old now, so there's a lot of those older games going up on shelves, people trading them in because of the new hotness that is the PlayStation 3, and bam, a copy of Mega Man Legends 2. I snatched that up so quick. I paid more for it. No doubt. They knew they had a markup for it. But I still think I made out pretty good considering I paid about $40-50 for it when it went for, from what I saw on eBay, around $200 to $250 now. So yeah, pretty great deal. And yeah, I love this game. If you have a chance to play it, play it. It's on PS3, PSN. It is amazing. I love this series so much. Thank God Tron Bonne is on there because I was seriously looking for it and considering paying the exorbitant amounts for that game. That would be my rarest if it wasn't for, if I actually had it. But I don't. But one final thing I'll say. God, I wish we had gotten the Japanese box art because no wonder it didn't sell well with this is what you're looking at. The back of the box certainly gave you some wonderful artwork to kind of get an idea of what you were getting into. But the front was just like, what is this? Why does Mega Man look so weird? I don't get it. And so my next one that was very close, and honestly you can get for a pretty decent price if you only want the cartridge itself. But I happen to have the complete box set because I realized I probably shouldn't get rid of cardboard from the NES because, hey, these things are actually worth some money. I've started noticing that market. So, starting with the Game Boy Advance, I started keeping all the cardboard and the manuals and all that stuff. I kept the manuals before, but I keep the cardboard at this point. And I happen to have a game that is very rare, or at least in this state. Again, you can get it for a better price, around 50 to 60 if you go for only the cartridge, which, is all you really need. But I happen to have a complete in-box set of Boktai, The Sun Is in Your Hand, a Kojima-developed game that was all about the idea that you needed to play out in the sun in order to power your gun to fight vampires and save the world in a 2D, top-down isometric action game. Even it says on the back here, yep, the sun is required to play. You need the sun. And it has a great art style. It has a great premise. That is really cool. I could not play the damn thing outside. It is impossible because I had an original GBA, and that thing does not really play well with the glare. And even if I didn't have that, I still had to play in the sun. Glare and GBA did not go well together. I have distinct memories of going on a long car ride with my family. It was a trip down to Florida for, I think, Disney World. And the entire time I was thinking, okay, cool. It's during the day. We're going along, but the sun is beating down on us. I can just keep the window open and have it right there and get the sun through and be able to play. I couldn't see anything. If I had the window up, I couldn't get powered up. If I had the window down, I couldn't see. That is the inherent problem of Boktai. It is a very, very cool concept. Unique in a lot of ways. But dear God, it makes it unplayable because the hardware you're on, it just wasn't feasible. Too much of a glare just does not work. But the concept is cool and it's just so unique. And let me get the cartridge out here because that is sort of the big thing with it. You just had this little guy, nice and clear. You miss the old clear stuff, and this had a little solar sensor right there. It stuck out at the top of the Game Boy and powered it up. and powered up the gun and let you, have a more powerful gun. You could make your way through, but it was way harder to defeat vampires in that way. It's likely why all the sequels dropped the solar mechanic, at least for, they had a solar mechanic, but not one in real life, because it just wasn't really that feasible. Shame, but there you go. Now, my next one is where we start getting into the really pricey stuff. This is, I'm proud of this one. And this one I just got because I was a fan. I had become a fan. So thank you, Super Smash Bros. Melee, for introducing me to the wonders that is Fire Emblem. Path of Radiance on the GameCube. I also have Radiant Dawn, but this one's actually worth more, unsurprisingly, because neither Path of Radiance or Radiant Dawn have been ever re-released. And I picked this up at launch because I got Fire Emblem Game Boy and didn't quite make it too far into it. I enjoyed it, but it just didn't quite click. And I skipped Sacred Stones because I saw a lot of reviews saying, it's more of the same, and there's not a whole lot different. I feel a bit of regret in that in retrospect, but console Fire Emblem, got the book, got the manual, got all the breakdown, and that is something to say because this game just addicted me. This is still probably one of my favorite Fire Emblem games because of the cast of characters. Mia Best Girl. Ike is such a unique hero. It's just a great balance, I think, of classic and more modern gameplay. Granted, there is no casual mode here. Your characters die, your units die, they die for good. And I have distinct memories of restarting a map if that happened, because I didn't want to lose any of them. They're my babies. I don't want to lose them. They're great. And it didn't have a lot of the stuff of nowadays where it's like the more the crazy amount of supports for everybody. There's still supports. They're still in there. They're still worth doing, but it wasn't quite the focus that it had otherwise. But still, it had a really good plot and really kept me along and really crafted me into the Fire Emblem fan that I am, because it is just that good. There's a lot of great elements to this. The Tellius games are really quite good and can't recommend both either enough if you've never played them. Dear God, Nintendo, please re-release these. I know I have the rarity here, but still, re-release these so one, I can play it on a modern console, and two, more people can actually experience it. It's a good thing. Trust me, it's a lot of fun, and I'm just very fortunate to have picked it up right when it came out. Just a normal price, no fancy tracking down. I mean, the same for Boktai. I just had an interest, picked them up, and took good care of them. And hey, they ended up being worth quite a pretty penny at that point. So, what do you know? Now, the next two took a bit of effort, and honestly, I'm a little surprised this one got up there. I had no idea. I had no idea until John was telling me about looking into all these games and some of the things he was missing and all that about just surprises, especially because he's based in Europe. And I had picked up the first game in this series because I'd been a fan of its previous version on the PlayStation 1. But I never got through it because, dear God, the cutscenes are long and I just didn't bother. So I didn't get the sequels when they first came out because, well, it's Xenosaga. And they take a long time. I just didn't quite get there, even despite the fact that I loved Xenogears. But I only got Xenoblade 1 at the time of release. I skipped 2 and 3, especially because they just kept changing the art style. They got to a good art style here. I will say, Xenoblade 3 is the best art style of the entire series. I hear from Ash it ends very well. But Xenoblade 3, I did not get at the time, and I honestly have yet to play it. I want to take the chance to actually play through the Xenosaga games because they're, I think, very interesting stepping stones to go from Xenogears to Xenoblade. And that'd be interesting to encounter at some point. But again, cutscenes, at least in the first game, could go easily 40, 45 minutes, an hour for some of them. It was ridiculous. And I don't know exactly why Xenoblade 3 or Xenosaga 3 is so rare. At least nowadays, because I used to work at a game store for a very short time. I didn't really like the job and the boss wasn't great. But they had actually a decent selection of games at times. And I noticed that Xenosaga 2 and 3 were there. And at this point, I was already a Xenoblade fan. It was honestly not that long ago, maybe 5 years at this point. And I'm like, well, I eventually want to play 2 and 3. And you know what? I have a little extra money, so sure, I'll get 2 and 3. I'll play it at some point, not knowing that apparently this thing got really expensive. And, no, not really any search or anything like that. It's just, I saw it. I was like, oh yeah, I want that. And I picked it up. And that's gratifying because I didn't have to, meticulously search and try to find that one game, which I have done before. They're not worth as much as these, but I have done in the past, namely Skies of Arcadia. Honestly, I want to do the same for Fragile Dreams on the Wii. I had my chance, but I decided to be a nice guy and give it to a friend because I'm like, I don't really have the money. Don't do that. Be selfish. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I don't regret it. I just wish there was another. That's really all it comes down to. But for my final game, it's also another one I have yet to play. I mean to play at some point because it just gets rave reviews from everybody who's played it, and it's something I've wanted to try for a long time. Maybe I'll do a video on it. I feel like it's been covered to death, but I'd be going in from somebody completely blind, knowing nothing. But I do own a copy of Suikoden 2 and 1, but just those two. But yeah, I have Suikoden 2. This is sort of like the treasure trove of the rare JRPG on the PS1. I know there's probably others out there, but this one just stood out to me all the time about everybody just saying how wonderful this game is, how amazing it is. And I never got the chance to try it out. Despite my RPG love, it completely flew me by at the time. And I didn't realize until years later that it was so sought after. And there was a different secondhand store. It's literally called Second and Charles that I was nearby and started visiting. And they had this copy of Suikoden 2 taunting me because I believe, if I remember correctly, because this is excellent condition. Like, it is just got the manual in there in great shape. Got the disc in here, great shape. Just everything is in tip-top shape. Dear God, that was impressive. But I was having a hard time still justifying the price. Because I would see, to speak to John's, I'd see Panzer Dragoon Saga at conventions and whatnot, going for really high prices. But I always have to say to myself, do I want to spend $100, $200, $300 on a single game in order to actually own it? And so I was just hawing around about it. I just didn't know whether to pull the trigger on it because I believe it was going for, I want to say, between $150 to $200, which apparently that price has gone up because this is worth upwards of $500 on eBay right now, at least as of when I was searching around, especially in the condition it's in. And so I just couldn't decide whether to do it. And then my girlfriend at the time, and I completely surprised me because my birthday was coming up, and she bought it for me. She bought Suikoden 2 and got it for me as a gift. Completely shocked me, just gobsmacked by it. I honestly was like, I can't believe you spent this much money, because I knew how much it was. I knew where, what it was like, and the fact that she got it for me was, incredibly generous. The relationship didn't work out, but that's just how it goes. But sometimes, yeah, that's how I got it. This is a gift. I didn't spend a dime on this. I was just a very, very, very thoughtful gift from a old girlfriend. And someday I'll play it. I mean, I'll find myself with time, right? At some point, right? I'll play all these RPGs I have. Wouldn't mind it. There's a lot of great ones in there. I have far more on this shelf that I'd love to actually experience someday. But those of my 5 rarest games, played about half of them. I find all of them to be excellent. I wish Boktai was more playable, but those are my 5 rarest games. If you haven't seen John's, definitely check out John's take on his 5 rarest games. He's much funnier than I am. You'll love him. If you haven't, pretty sure you've already seen him at this point. And if you didn't get a chance to give your rarest games to him, leave it in the comments here. What are some other rare games you have, if you even gave your top 5 or something to that degree? What are some crazy stories of near misses where you could have got a rare game, but it just slipped out of your hands? Let me know in the comments, and of course be sure to subscribe to Good Vibes Gaming for more off-the-cuff stuff like this, more produced stuff like my Shin Megami Tensei retrospective, or just fun stuff from John otherwise. So definitely check all of that out. Thank you so much for watching, and if you want to support us over on Patreon, that is at patreon.com/gvgaming, where you can get all kinds of extra goodies over there as well, including live audience, fighter founders, and just other fun stuff. So thank you all so much for your support and for indulging me today, and we'll see you next time. Bye.